Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com.
Solo Mini, a top 10 first crop sire in 2023, standing at McMahon of Saratoga. 14 first crop winners, including My Shady Lady, winner of the $500,000 New York Stallion Series 5th Avenue Stakes, Grade 2 winner, Winstock, and Stakes winner, Solo Shot. Solo Mini, the 7th leading freshman sire and the only top 10 freshman sire with a Grade 1 or Grade 2 winner. He sired a $700,000 2-year-old at the OBS April sale. His juveniles sold for nearly 6 figures on average, more than 12 times the stud fee. Solo Mini, a controversial DQ from being a Grade 1 winner by 2-time Horse of the Year Curlin, standing at McMahon of Saratoga Thoroughbreds.
This horse is a monster, and just physically an imposing horse. It's gonna be 77 days since his last race.
Hasn't missed a workout either. Looks like.
I think he's sitting on a huge race. I'm all in on Sierra Leone.
Extremely high on Sierra Leone, and his pattern and numbers do not sway me from that position. Now again, we can't pick the Derby winner today, but like I was about to say, if you put a gun to my head and said I had to pick the Derby winner on February 15th, I would say Sierra Leone.
Hey, Sure Bet Coffee. Put that giddy up in your cup. That giddy up in your cup. Sure Bet Coffee. Giddy up, giddy up, giddy up. Ciao, everybody. It's time for another episode of Past the Wire TV's Kentucky Derby Radar. Jim Gazelle, my usual co-host, is tied up, not literally, but tied up and will not be on the show, so I'm flying solo. I think I can handle it. I've done it before. The toughest part of this show might be pronouncing the names of the horses in the Saudi Cup correctly, which looks a little challenging at a glance. But we'll see what we could do. We're rolling along in Kentucky Derby season. As a special bonus, we'll talk a little bit about at the end of the show the Saudi Cup, which will also be run on Saturday, and of course, we're going to have to talk about the Rebel. I didn't do a Thoroughgraph show on the Rebel because I thought it came up pretty light for a Derby prep, especially, considering the, cool mill plus purse, but it is what it is. And, you say things like that, then, winds up being a key race and then the Derby winner comes out of it. So, you never know where a good horse can come from or where the Derby winner may come out of. I mean, mind that bird. Sunland Derby, wasn't it, or something like that? So, you never know. Nobody's really come from the desert and won the Derby yet. UAE Derby, Saudi Derby, but, it'll probably happen eventually. Is this the year? I don't know. We'll talk more about that. Personally, I don't think so, but we'll see. Recap a little bit of what we saw in the Risen Star. Unfortunately, we got a sloppy track, which, kind of, threw a little bit of a curveball into it. But in my humble opinion, and I don't care what, the numbers or speed figures say, I haven't checked the thoroughbred number yet on Sierra Leone. It's been a busy week for us, but I will say this. I like them best going in. I like them best coming out. I didn't see anything at all last Saturday that swayed me. Jim Gazelle on the Derby Radar show loved him. On the Thoroughbred show, I loved him, and we've been talking about him since the first Derby Radar show that we did way back when. He's been, high up on the radar, and he's just got Derby horse written all over him in my opinion, and he kind of solidified that, and he's now in a position where that was 50 points to the winner. He's in the race. Chad can maybe back off him a little bit in the bluegrass, get him a little bit more education. I don't know what the dynamics of that will be. I do know that he is pointing to the bluegrass. And Chad sets him up perfect for the Derby. He really does. He hasn't won one yet, but it's deceptive to think that he's not great bringing horses there. I mean, I don't ever remember a horse brought to the Derby better than Zandon. Although he didn't win it, he just ran into Epicenter. And Rich Strike, who kind of ran a fluky race coming up the inside. And, Epicenter was just a little better than him on the square that day. But he was brought to the race as good as you can bring a horse to a race. And I expect the same with Sierra Leone. And Chad is sharp. Maybe he learned a little something. Maybe he's got a little different kind of horse this year. But we'll see. That'll all shake out as we go forward. But he is absolutely still on the top of my list. And kind of, put, in my opinion, anyway, for what it's worth, I would say at worst, he put an exclamation point on himself. So I am super high on that horse, and until something happens, I will remain that way. So stay tuned. We'll go forward. Saudi Derby. 1 mile shoot race, one turn, not a 2-turn mile, 1 mile race, around one turn. Tough to gauge these races out in the desert. Have always been tough for me to gauge. But we'll run through the horses and see what what we think and how it shakes out. And again, the most challenging thing, and I mean no disrespect to any of the connections at all, but the most challenging thing may be pronouncing these horses' names right. So we'll see what we could do. We'll try. Aj Awadi, a horse that started out on the grass in Great Britain, in the UK, ran on the synthetic. Kind of got a little better when he moved to the dirt. So maybe he's a dirt horse. It's tough to gauge. He hasn't been in graded company yet, and his 2 dirt races were in Saudi Arabia. So I don't think they're quite as tough as some of the others. But he put it together last time, got his second win. New gelding, which I find interesting going into the Saudi Derby, but he's an improving horse. Seems to like the dirt. I think he's a cut below based on what I've seen, but he is a new gelding, so that is the ultimate equipment change, as they say. It certainly would wake a lot of us up pretty quickly, and we'll see what happens with him. Hayat. 2 for 2, also both at Saudi Arabia. So, we know he's a desert runner. He's by Outwork, U.S. dirt sire out of a hard spun mare. So, he's bred for the dirt and to handle the dirt. Outwork was an Uncle Mo. So, 2 for 2, 20 to 1, probably more than that. Owned by the king. So, I don't think you could toss the king's horse in Saudi Arabia by a long shot, in my opinion. Almotahed. He's had some chances. He won three what I would call relatively minor races. All his races have been in Saudi Arabia. Um, Also a new gelding, so that's two, which I find interesting, but looks a couple low to me. A horse that's going to be a nice price, um, uh, owned by Sheikh Mohammed bin Khalifa Al Maktoum, uh, but from Argentina. One race in Dubai. He run fifth by 5 in the UAE Guineas, a grade 3, group 3. Uh, but before that, this horse was bred and was racing in Argentina. So he lists himself as a 4-year-old because of the different hemisphere and whatnot. But I don't know how much that comes into play. But on paper, he's 4 running against 3-year-olds. So that's a little interesting. He's run on some heavy tracks over in Argentina. He's got that race to get acclimated in Dubai, and I always find that the southern hemisphere and South American horses take a while to acclimate. They train different over there. It's a very, very different game. So I do think that he possibly can be a horse that's acclimating, improving, and can improve significantly in the second start in the desert and out of South America. So he's a long shot, and I like the fact that Christophe Soumillon, who rode him in Dubai, is riding him again in Saudi. I mean, who wouldn't ride in Saudi on Saudi Cup Day for that kind of money if you're a rider? But I thought he was a little interesting. Salim Al Khair, I thought was a cut below. Setup, first Japan horse that we see, and the lesser regarded of a couple that are in here, but doesn't look like a slouch by any stretch of the imagination. All his races have been on turf, but he's a declaration of war out of an Aldebaran mare. Aldebaran was by Mr. Prospector, so there's dirt on the bottom. Declaration of war by Warfront. They run on anything in my book, so I'm not too worried about him trying the dirt for the first time. He'll get some money because everybody's on the Japanese horses now, so uh, we'll see. We'll see where he fits and kind of get a gauge of who he is. He's a question mark and a mystery, in my opinion, but he certainly wouldn't be a surprise. And the first time dirt doesn't really scare me. Uh, Saudi Neon has yet to run bad. All in Saudi. Bred dirt, top and bottom by Connect, who was by Curlin. At a dazzling contrast, General Meeting. General Meeting was by Seattle Slew. That's turf, dirt, whatever. Doesn't make a difference. And he's brought it every time in cheaper races. He's first, second. He's been, been the mile 3 times. Looks a cut below, but he's in there, and he might be able to improve. I doubt it, but might be able to improve. Bookham Dano, very intriguing. By Buchero, who's having a lot of early success as a sire. This gelding's out of a Ghost Zappa mare, so you get some distance there. Buchero was a stone cold sprinter. You wouldn't think that he would, sire horses that are going to get a distance, but this is only a mile. This ain't the Derby, so he's less likely to sire a Derby winner than he is a Saudi Derby winner. So, this is only a 1-turn mile. He did run a 1-turn mile in the Nashua at Aqueduct, was dead game. Irad rides him. He's coming off a 12-length win in the Pasco over the heavy, deep, tiring, quirky Tampa Downs strip, which we've talked about, which we've had Antonio Gallardo talk about on the show. And I think he's got to be called a contender, especially with Irad aboard. Shipping from the US of A. Forever Young, the more higher regarded of the two Japanese horses, is undefeated, first time 3-year-old by Real Steel, who was by Deep Impact. We know the success that Deep Impact has had in Japan out of a Congrats mare, 3 for 3, 2-1 morning line favorite, highly regarded over there. Yet to run in graded or group company. He can be a contender, and he can just as easily be a pretender against these kind of horses. He comes with a lot of hype, and is going to take a lot of money at 2-1. For a horse like that, if I was betting this race, which I'm probably not, if I was betting this race, my attitude towards him would be prove it, show me. You're going to have to show me something before I jump anywhere near your bandwagon. But we'll see. He may do so. We may be singing a different tune after that race. Bentornato comes in from Gulfstream Park for Jose D'Angelo. He's a game horse. I really have no knock on him. I think he'll like the 1-turn mile. I think he'll handle it just fine. He's run in 3 of the Florida Stallion Series races, winning 2 of them. Didn't quite get it done in the reality last time back in December, but he's a little bit more mature, a little bit more grown up. This is his first start at 3, and I think he's awfully eligible to run a good race here. Satono Phoenix, another Japanese horse. Again, he looks like although João Moreira is on him, and that guy, they don't call him Magic Man for nothing. He could work magic, but this one looks to me like the lesser of the 2 others, so he would be the 3rd one. But these horses are a mystery. He's by Henny Hughes. Doesn't exactly scream distance. His mile race was his worst race. His 3 sprint races were better than when they stretched him out. So they're bringing him here hoping for something special, I guess, but I'll have to see it to believe it. Mashur, last, maybe least, looks a cup below, looks in deep, looks over his head, in my opinion, and that's the field. So I'm not betting this race. If the Kentucky Derby comes out of here, a winner comes out of here, I will be awfully surprised. But I will say this. I'm intrigued by Oasis Boy, the Argentinian horse. We'll see what he could do against this kind of company. I think that race in Dubai might have done him some good. I don't like him enough to bet on him. I'm a pretty particular and choosy better, but you never know. I may take a little bit of a shot late if he stays, 12-1, or maybe even drifts up with all the hype on some of the other horses. But we'll see. But he's the one that I'm watching to see how he runs, and watching as somebody who may be able to come out of this race and wind up on the Derby trail, possibly. We'll see. Should be interesting. And let's switch it up. Instead of talking about the Saudi Cup last, let's talk about it now, because we got those PPs up. So we might as well talk about what is, in my opinion, an extremely intriguing and exciting horse race. We had the Breeders' Cup Classic, and then the Pegasus, and this one really outshines the Pegasus. But I guess a $20 million purse will do that. That's a respectable amount of money in just about anybody's book. So that will do that. Wound up on paper, and this track, Saudi Arabia, although it's in the desert, this track does have a tendency to favor speed. It's been a speedy track, but there is a lot of pace in here. So me, I play the hand as I see it dealt. I'm not gonna outguess the way that I see the pace, and ride what may or may not be a track bias on Saturday in a race like this. I see speed. I don't see Saudi Crown or National Treasure letting either one get away from the other one. So there's a couple of others in here, but White Barrio ran probably the most impressive Whitney that I can remember. he put an exclamation point on that race with a nice win in the Breeders' Cup Classic. So he's coming in off, his two best races. His third in the Met Mile wasn't exactly bad. You've got a horse here who can run, and now this is a one-turn mile and an eighth, and you got a horse here who can run a mile and 133 around one turn, run 7 furlongs around one turn in 122. I'm not so sure that a lot of these other two-turn horses can kind of do that. He's just really, in his 5-year-old season, looking like a horse that's absolutely blossoming. Late at 4, now 5, just really coming into his own. And if Rick Dutrow, and if anybody can, it's Rick, can keep this horse at this level throughout this year, he may have just an unbelievable year. And God willing, he stays healthy, sound, and injury free, and he can just be a handful. And I think he's going to get a great trip from the rail. I'm not worried about the rail, even though a lot of people might not like the rail going a mile and an eighth. I think there's enough speed for Irad to just sit chilly and decide what he wants to do, when he wants to do it. And I think this horse is going to give him the run when he asks for it. And I think that he'll time the move right. And I think he's absolutely, without a doubt, in an extremely tough competitive field, the horse to beat. But he's certainly not the only one who can win, and he's not the only horse in the race. We've got Isolate coming in with a lot of class, a horse that kind of was improving, running some big numbers in the US of A before going to Dubai, took his game to Dubai and kind of kept it up. He won the Godolphin Mile last year. He won the Al Maktoum Mile, both Group 2s in Dubai last year. So we know this horse can run in the desert. We know he's fast, but he's a pace kind of horse. He's speedy, Isolate. He likes to be on or close to the lead. And I think that absolutely helps White Barrio. Something's wrong with my PPs because I can't see the rest of the horses. Lemon Pop, I can see him. Japanese horse, intriguing. We don't know what kind of pace these horses will or will not have. But if anything, and you're one of the people that's on the Japanese bandwagon, this is a horse that you have to watch. Saudi Crown, we know Saudi Crown has a world of speed. We know what he's capable of. He's fast, and my main knock on him is that he's not going to be out there by himself. National Treasure is coming off a monster race in the Pegasus, held off Senior Buscador after taking heat early. That was impressive. Dead game, tough to count Bob Baffert out of any spot. Pratt can probably sit a trip if anybody can. So he's probably the next one that I think is dangerous. But, on the square, is he better than White Barrio is right now? He's going to have to step up and prove that to me. But with the right trip and the right ride, he certainly can. Senya Buscador is a closer. We saw that in the Pegasus. I thought the Pegasus set up for a closer. National Treasure was able to, get the job done anyway. Will Senya Buscador be able to run that kind of race back again? I don't think so. I don't think Saudi Crown is going to be able to clear and go all the way in a race like this. But you never know. It's possible. But, I said the race was for second in the Breeders' Cup Classic with White Barrio. I don't know that I would say the race is for second here because the desert's always a mystery to me. But I think he's absolutely the horse to beat in the Saudi Cup. And I would talk more about these horses if I could get my past performances to to show on my computer, but I can't. So I don't know what's going on. But I did look at the race, and I do know that, White Barrio was where I landed once again, and that's got nothing to do with the fact that I loved him in the Whitney and loved him in the Breeders' Cup Classic, because one of the things we've talked about, I can't even count how many times on so many of our handicapping shows, that every race is different. Every time you look at the past performances, it's a different game. You got to look at it without any preconceived notion, bias. What happened last time, who came through for you, and who didn't last time, really has nothing to do with what you're going to do here and now. So that's how I see it. So, don't get lulled into thinking that I like a horse because of what happened last time that he ran, as opposed to just liking him because I handicapped him, because that's what I do. I study every race, individually. Uh, Moving on. We got the Rebel. Back to the 3-year-olds. I thought, like I said earlier, the race came up light. I looked at it. I said, wow, okay. I wish I had a horse to run for, $1.3 million. That was a 3-year-old good enough to compete here. We'll see. Carbone from the rail, fast horse, very high on him. Didn't get the lead in the Southwest. Totally fell apart in the mud. If it's a fast track on Saturday, he's not a horse that I would shy away from giving one more chance to. I like it when, trainers like Steve Asmussen and guys that I put into, top tier, head of the class category, run back in a tough spot off a subpar race. So Carbone from the rail with his speed could be dangerous if the mud was the excuse last time. Northern Flame, Kenny McPeak, he looks okay. Running non-winners at 2 Lifetime twice in a row. Got the job done on the lead at Oakland Park last time, going a mile. Got to go a little further here. Maybe. Doesn't look like a Derby kind of horse in my book. Common Defense, McPeak's other horse, kind of looks almost as interesting as the other horse, really. I mean, if you throw out his Southwest and factor in Brian Hernandez jumps on, let Peru sticks with the other one. I love those calls where I go the other way from the way that everybody else went. So, I'd probably land on Common Defense before I would Northern Flame, for what it's worth, even though Northern Flame's got some good, stake experience at the grade 1 and grade 3 level to close out his 2-year-old year. I don't know. I'm not all that impressed with him. Peters Miller's horse, Tejan Pass. I mean, he's okay. He's not all that in a bag of chips. He would be a surprise. Magic Grant, another one. Would have to really turn things around to run. Dematic is interesting, even though he just broke his maiden. Always showed some potential. Stretched out in the slop, broke his maiden with some authority. Is a gun runner. Tyler Gaffleone comes in for the ride. He's one that I would have on my list of a horse to watch here, along with the horse Carbone on the rail. Timberlake, heavy favorite, going to be a heavy favorite. Hasn't run since the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Ran a respectable 4th by 8. Christian Torres, who's riding very good at Oakland Park, rides him. This is a 4-length winner of the Champagne in the slop, but did run good on a fast track at Ellis and Saratoga. Into Mischief, no knocks. Brad Cox can have him, ride his dodges, and Super Cherry right off the layoff. No knocks here in my book. Legitimate favorite, and probably the most likely winner, especially on a fast track. But we'll see. He sits close right off the pace, so he's not going to be too far back with any short stretches or anything like that to worry about at a mile and a 16th at Oakland Park. Next level. Looks in the deep end of the pool for me. His stakes tries, unless you count the Del Mar Futurity Grade 1 way back when, last September, which was only 7/8 of a mile. The 2 stakes tries after that, he was up the track. They're not giving up on him, but he'd be a surprise in my book. Laganos, another horse from Steve's barn. His son Keith rides him. Steve's got the horses that I think can jump up and maybe give Brad Cox's horse a tussle. This horse sits a nice trip, got a nice running style, just off the pace, can go to the lead, probably won't here, but sits just off the pace. 2 for 4. Out of a Speightstown mare. He's by Kent Theros, who's by Lionheart. Doesn't scream distance, but it's only a mile and a 16th. And Steve at Oaklawn is always deadly. So, I can't really count him out as one that could step up and improve. So, we've got 3 horses from Steve that can maybe jump up and give Brad a tussle, but I don't really see any of the others. Maina from Steve Hobby looks a cup below. Just Steel, a horse that's going to get his fair share of attention from post 11. He's going to really have to run a big race to win. He's bred. It's the coach, D. Wayne Lucas. He's by Justify. He's coming off the Smarty Jones, the Southwest, the Eddie Brown before that. Wayne, he don't give no breaks. He just runs and runs and runs and runs and runs and runs until they don't want to run no more or something happens and they can't. That's just his old school style. He's hard on his horses. Is this horse going to run another good race? From the 11 hole, I say show me. Derby contender, I say show me that you're going to be able to keep this together that long. Now, mind you, Wayne could always pop up with one of these and they went off by 10. And he's like, that's the race I was waiting for and looking for. That's fine. It could happen. It's a bet against to me. I'll believe it when I see it, if I see it. And if I see it, you'll see it and we'll all see it. So that's that. Woodcourt, really good form, 2 in a row, synthetic, dirt, legged up nice, but doesn't look this caliber to me. Even though he was by Ransom the Moon, who I used to think had a lot of potential that was kind of unfulfilled. Like they say in A Bronx Tale, nothing sadder in life than wasted talent. I don't know that his was wasted, but he just never really fulfilled the promise that at least I thought Ransom the Moon had. But that's just my opinion. Time for Truth. Interesting horse on the outside. Drew the 13 hole, terrible post. Rafael Bejarano coming out of 2 sprints, wins first time out at Oaklawn Park, comes back in the Ozark sprinting, runs second in the mud, now stretches out. Off those 2 sprints by Omaha Beach, this horse could clear from out there, and all of a sudden the 13 hole is not a problem. I like sprint to route. I like 2 sprints to route. He is in Omaha Beach. Out of a looking at Lucky Mare. My attitude towards him is he's 15-1. I like Ron Moquette. I think he's an underrated trainer. I think he can do a good job with a good horse when he gets a chance. He's the other one that I'll have my eye on as one that could possibly jump up and say, hello, I'm in the game. And we'll see what happens. So there's 4 horses other than the heavy favorite that I think can maybe make some noise in the Rebel and wind up on the Kentucky Derby Trail. The 3 Steve Asmussen horses and Ron Moquette's horse from the outside. If you want names, we'll give you names. They are Laganos. I hope I'm saying that right. Watch me mess up the American horse when I got the Saudi ones right. Timberlake, the favorite we know. Dematic, who's probably the one I think has the most upside of them all, but not by much. And Carbone from the rail, who I was very high on originally, but, when he didn't get the lead, he didn't win. And with that horse on the outside, Moquette's horse, I don't know that he's going to be able to get the lead here, although he's got that inside advantage. The other one's got the 2 sprints. Rafael Bejarano, years back, used to be a little bit more aggressive than he is today. So if he gets that, adrenaline in him, looking for a Derby horse, and he decides to get aggressive and goes on and clears from the outside there, he could be an interesting horse to watch, especially if he can carry these all the way home, which is not a short order by any stretch of the imagination. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We got a lot of great stuff coming. We've got live coverage of the Belmont Festival up at Saratoga. We're going to be on site, behind the scenes. We got some great stuff coming up with a jockey that I don't want to give the farm away and let you know, but subscribe, hit the like button, turn on notifications so you don't miss any of this cool stuff. We've had 3-4 great interviews lately. Jim Gazelle's interview with Dylan Davis, top shelf if you didn't see it. Kyle Frey and Jeff Metz sat down for a heart-to-heart serious conversation. Carrie Brogdon on breeding with Jeff Metz was great. We got some other people coming on with new shows as well. Sorry you all had to ride with me solo here, but it is what it is. Hopefully I did okay. We were really handicapping and coming up with anything. I'm not in love with either of the 3-year-old races this weekend. Sierra Leone last week was a different story, but we're always about quality over quantity when it comes to betting, but analysis is something different. When we're betting, we'll tell you. When we're not betting, we'll tell you that too. I'm not betting the Rebel, and I'm most likely not betting the Saudi Derby. The Saudi Cup, that's another story. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. Ciao for now. We will be back soon.
Horsepower, we've got the Sire Power. Central Banker, New York's leading sire 3 years in a row, standing at McMahon of Saratoga. He has 12 black type winners, including multiple stakes winners and graded stakes placed Bank It, Morning Matcha, and Bank Stink. Central Banker, sire of 6-figure yearlings and 2-year-olds. He produced 9 stakes runners in 2023. Runners have earned $20.5 million on the track. Central Banker, standing at McMahon of Saratoga Thoroughbreds.
They're off in the 2023 First Crop Sires race. Maximum Mischief makes the lead with the most 2-year-old maiden special winners by any sire. On the backstretch, Mitoli and Omaha Beach close the gap with stakes performers from coast to coast. Vino Rosso finds his best and leads on the turn with 4 Grade 1 colts on dirt. But it's Mitoli with his 3rd TDN Rising Star, your champion freshman, leading an impressive Spendthrift Superfecta.
The Sure Bet Coffee Play of the Day, which is actually in race 8. I like number 1, Francisco Clemente, who I believe should have won last time out in California. Was on the inside, swung very wide, finished very well, was probably best that day, but I think we see an even better race from him today.
Down the center, Francesco Clemente. He's trying to shift in, but he's shifting gears, and here he comes now. Francesco Clemente, front and center, and going away to win the McKnight.
We're going to see a very special filly in Warm Heart, who is just nothing but talent. I don't believe, in my opinion, Shug's horse that a lot of people are high on has the seasoning to handle her at this particular point, although he may go on and be a really good horse. Today is today, and the future's the future.
Here's Warm Heart. She got through at the rail. What a ride, and Warm Heart has hit the front. The globe-trotting Warm Heart is clear. Outside, I'm very busy, charging hard late. Warm Heart wins the Pegasus World Cup turn.
If there was ever a race, in my opinion, that pace makes the race, this year it's the Pegasus World Cup. Senior Buscador is a horse that I think can definitely slip into the triples, superfectas, maybe even the exacta. And if something crazy happens and we get a pace meltdown, I think Junior Alvarado is an underrated, very strong finisher, and I think that horse can definitely surprise people and make some noise late.
They come past the 8th pole. On the inside, it's still National Treasure holding on. Down the center, Senor Buscadori's running out of time. National Treasure would not be denied.
here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free, exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING. Get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator, exclusively on DRF Bets.
Tracking trips with Pick 6 King John Stetton. It's one of the best tools in horse racing for any level of player. It's your second set of eyes, spotting troubled trips, betting angles, track trends, horses to watch and favorites to fade, 10 figs, ticket structure, and more. At Tracking Trips, you're a friend with benefits. Not a member? You must hate winning money. Join Tracking Trips now. Visit pastthewire.com and we'll see you in the winner's circle. Remember, nobody does it better.
Jackie's Warrior quickly in front here by 2 lengths. Here comes Jackie's Warrior up the inside to take over the lead from Life is Good. And Jackie's Warrior remains undefeated here at Saratoga, and he wins an unprecedented Grade 1 stakes at the Spa for the 3rd straight season.
Does it better.